Broadcasting live from the Albay Pio News Center, providing you the most exclusive news update from all over the province. This is 12 o'clock Newsbreak. In the local scene, the provincial government of Albay has been acknowledged for its achievements in disaster risk reduction management and humanitarian assistance. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, NDRRMC, announced the results of the meticulous deliberation by the National Gawad Kalasag Committee for the 23rd Gawad Kalasag Sale and the Special Awards, recognizing excellence in disaster risk reduction and management and humanitarian assistance in the local DRRM councils and offices, LDRRMCO's category. Albay, through the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, Albay Public Safety and Emergency Management Office, PDRRMC OPSEMO, is among the 256 beyond compliant and 723 fully compliant local government units nationwide that have received this recognition. For fully compliant cities and municipalities in Albay, Kamalig Town and the City of Tabaco were included. In another story, Provincial Administrator Sheena Onrubia de la Cruz announced that Governor Ezel Grace-Lagman would be part of the panel members in the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference in Dubai. Lagman, according to de la Cruz, is the only governor chosen to be a panelist in the said important climate change conference. Known as one of the most progressive, disaster-resilient, and globally competitive provinces, Albay guarantees to share resilient initiatives in building resilient communities. Meanwhile, it can be recalled that the provincial government of Albay and the United Nations Development Program UNDP inked partnerships for a strong enterprise and collaboration through the strengthening institutions and empowering localities against disaster and climate change SHIELD program on May 3, 2023 at the Governor's Guest House, Albay. In another news, the local government of Albay led the celebration of the 31st National Children's Month. The Provincial Social Welfare and Development Office, PSWDO, spearheaded said activity through the Albay Children's Day on November 27th. The purpose of this festival, with the theme Healthy, Nourished, and Sheltered, ensuring the right to life for all, is to promote the health of young people. This is done by approaching them with the necessary medical services and other related programs that will help them achieve a healthy and peaceful life. According to Danilo R. Ballester Jr., one of the hosts of the celebration, said that the event is also in solidarity with the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, which was first adopted in the country in 1989, which stipulates rights of the young people when it comes to accessible health care services. In 2015, former President Benigno Aquino III officially declared the month of November as National Children's Month. In the national scene, the Philippine government and the Communist Party of the Philippines, CPP, a political wing, the National Democratic Front, NDF, have agreed to a principled and peaceful resolution of the armed conflict. The resumption developed after the Philippine government and the NDF signed a joint statement in Oslo, Norway on November 23, Presidential Peace Advisor Carlito Galvez Jr. said in a press briefing at Malacanang Palace in Manila on Tuesday. Galvez said the move aims to attain relevant socio-economic and political reforms towards a just and lasting peace. The joint statement is a product of the series of informal discussions held in the Netherlands and Norway starting in 2022 between the emissaries of the Philippine government and the National Democratic Front, with a facilitation of the Royal Norwegian government. It was signed by Galvez, the Special Assistant to the President's Secretary Antonio Ernesto Lagdameo Jr., retired Armed Forces of the Philippines AFP Chief General Emmanuel Bautista, and NDF National Executive Council member Luis Halandoni, negotiating panel interim chairperson Julieta de Lima, and panel member Connie Ledesma. In another story, the Senate on Tuesday approved House of Representatives Bill 8980, or the 5.7 trillion 2024 General Appropriations Act GAA, with 21 affirmative votes, 0 negative, and 1 abstention. Committee on Finance Chairperson Senate Sonny Angara emphasized that the proposed 2024 GAA reflects the aspirations of the President, Bagong Pilipinas. Angara also mentioned the inclusion of the Philippine National Police, Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, National Bureau of Investigation, and Philippine Coast Guard. Angara noted the increase in the proposed budget allotted for the Marawi Compensation Board, as well as the realignment in the proposed budget of the Department of Agriculture to boost its various programs. The proposed 2024 budget of the Department of Education was also augmented to build more school buildings, other programs, and scholarships for state universities and colleges. In another news, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, LTFRB, on Tuesday assured commuters that the Libreng Sakay service by the national and local governments will again be deployed if another transport strike occurs. LTFRB urged those joining the strike not to prevent public utility vehicle PUV drivers who are willing to work from doing their jobs. The statement is in response to an interview with Manibela President Mar Valbuena that a joint strike with pagkakaisang samahan ng mga tsuper at operator nationwide, Piston, and other transport groups is possible to protest the December 31 deadline for the consolidation under the PUV Modernization Program, PUV-MP. The LTFRB and the Department of Transportation DOTR have remained adamant in a consolidation deadline as it is non-negotiable. And in the news outside the country, the Israeli army announced late Monday that 11 Israeli hostages held by Hamas in the Gaza Strip had arrived in Israel as part of the hostage swap deal with the Palestinian group reached through Qatari, Egyptian, and American mediation. Israeli authorities said that among the released detainees were 9 children and 2 women. It also reported that Hamas released 6 detainees from Thailand who were in its custody. Israeli newspaper reported that Thai Foreign Minister Panpri Bahida Nakura would arrive in Israel and meet with the released Thais. Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said 33 Palestinians, 30 children, and 3 women would be released tonight in exchange for the freeing of 11 Israeli hostages. Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari said on X, formerly Twitter, that the released Israelis include 3 with French nationality, 2 with German nationality, and 6 with Argentine nationality. In another story, the vote for the host city of the 2030 World Expo is set to take place in Paris on Tuesday, with South Korea's southeastern city of Busan making last-ditch effort to pull off an upset in the competition against 2 candidates. The host country will be selected by the member states of the Bureau International Expositions (BIE), the body responsible for overseeing the globally prestigious event, with the potential to generate economic benefits and stimulate job creation during its General Assembly. Busan is contending against Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Rome, and Italy. The South Korea delegates and business leaders, led by Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, have been making their last-minute pitch in Paris to bring the event to Busan by meeting with delegates from BIE member states to articulate Busan's vision and competence in transforming the World Expo into a platform addressing global issues. Yuan returned home Sunday from a trip to Europe that included a state visit to Britain and a final campaign in France to bring the 2030 World Expo to Busan. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has joined the campaign efforts to galvanize support for Busan. And finally, in the news outside the country, climate change is already shaving billions off the world's economy, with developing countries hardest hit, according to a new report published Tuesday ahead of COP28 climate negotiations. The report by the University of Delaware estimated that impacts from human-caused climate change cut 6.3% from global economic output last year, when weighted across populations. The figures reflect both direct consequences of climate change, such as disruptions to agriculture and manufacturing, and reduced productivity from high heat, as well as spillover impacts on global trade and investments. When calculated without taking into account impacts borne by the average person, the global GDP loss was 1.8% of GDP, or about $1.5 trillion in 2022. Least developed countries experienced higher population-weighted GDP, that would be loss of 8.3%, with Southeast Asia and Southern Africa particularly affected, losing 14.1% and 11.2% of their GDP, respectively. And that's all for the 12 o'clock news break, November 30, 2023. We'll be right back tomorrow for more news updates. And thanks to our 12 o'clock news break writer, Joy Duque. And on the technical side, Chad Bobbies. And to our Provincial Information Officer, Attorney Mary Luduca Castillo. And of course, under the supervision of our Governor, Attorney Edsel Greg Slagman. I am Greg HALLARE. Thank you for subscribing.